Welcome back to Blooming in Brisbane. Today we're in a very special garden. We're in a garden in Toowoomba called Brindabella Gardens. Some of you may have already visited these beautiful surroundings, but we're here with the owner, Mr. John Gray. Welcome, John, to the program.
Thanks, Noel.
John, tell us a little bit about what you have created here, a bit of the history behind Brindabella.
Yeah, now, Brindabella Gardens is now 20 years old. It's a 4-acre garden, and my wife Sylvia and I set out to establish an English-style garden in Toowoomba. And at the same time, we had various passions in terms of particular plant species, and we wanted to see if we could grow them here. And a lot of the plants that are here are, in fact, plants that people told us you could never grow in Queensland. So, you know, you take the challenge.
I think that's one of the best things about gardening, isn't it? Is we all take up a challenge. We all try to prove other people wrong. I can grow that. I love that plant. So it's wonderful that you've managed to do that as well. You've positioned your garden in many different types of rooms, haven't you? And do they all carry a different theme, or do they carry a similar theme that you stitch all the way through?
That's right, Noel. We took our inspiration from a number of English gardens, obviously, if you're going to set about doing an English-style garden, then look to places such as the arts and crafts movement in England. Hidcote was a garden that we drew a lot of our inspiration from. And it is, in fact, a series of garden rooms, outdoor garden rooms. In our case, we themed them with the particular plants we had a passion for. So here we are, we're surrounded by Japanese maples of all sorts. And we have other rooms that are full of roses, other rooms that are a woodland garden full of rhododendrons, and so it goes on.
Yes, I have to say I've been in this garden at different times of the year, and actually being at this point in time where the trees are bare or they're just about ready to spurt their new spring growth is quite a magical experience. It's really quite nice. It's letting the delightful, you know, late winter, early spring sun come through and penetrate onto the ground too. And you get a real feeling on the structure of the trees and the fact that how they are and the role that they play in this garden as well. Tell us a little bit about some of the understory planting, such as the bulbs and things that you have in here.
Well, we wanted, because there are only two of us doing the garden essentially, one of the things that you aim for initially, of course, is plants that will naturalise.
Yes.
And so we went about looking for those sorts of plants after establishing the trees, of course. Once you get those established, well, they look after themselves. But things like freesias and daffodils, we just never do anything to them. They just flower in the spring, set their nutrients through the summer, and we don't ever look at them again until the next spring.
I think people regard daffodils as something more of an annual acquisition each year in Brisbane gardens, but things like freesias are a forgotten beauty in the garden. I think a lot of people have lost them as well due to new garden renovations. I used to see them a lot in a lot of the older gardens in Brisbane. They used to come up all over the place, and yet it's just a delight to see them here in the garden as well. It's just as beautiful colour and lovely fragrance at the same time. John, do you have a particular love of any species of plant in this garden?
Well, over the 20 years that we've been in this process of establishing the garden, way back I first said I would love to grow rhododendrons. I had seen them down in some of the southern gardens. My mother gardens in Bowral, she has them, and I thought, well, there's a good chance that we can grow them here. But my background is in agriculture, and I knew that if you're going to achieve this, the first thing to do is go and look at the genetics of the plants. Try to find varieties that in this case come from lower elevations of the Himalaya, where it's hotter in the summer and even humid in the summer, and choose from those varieties. So that's what we did. We established that sort of genetic line, if you like, and hey, they've prospered. I mean, I've lost lots like everybody does, but once you get onto the line, they're fabulous.
That's wonderful. Look, I've seen some of the rhododendrons that you are in love with here in the garden. I can honestly see the love affair that you have with them, because they are unbelievably beautiful. It makes me very envious, but it's also spurred me on to maybe think, oh, maybe I should try one or two in my own garden. That's dangerous. I think any gardener out there would probably recognise that look that I've got in my eyes about, oh, it's a lovely plant, I must have it in my garden. But I think we should all open ourselves up to trialling different plants, and it's great that you can sort of offer that inspiration to a lot of different people as well. Tell me a little bit about the importance of a deciduous canopy. This is something that a lot of people often disregard. They don't think they want that to have a shady aspect, but it's important, isn't it, to have a garden like this, to have deciduous canopies?
Well, that's right, and the deciduous trees, of course, herald the seasons. They also, of course, shed their leaves by nature.
Yes.
And anything that is an understory plant is instantly mulched.
That's
so once
true.
you've got them established, you've got mulching, and of course then it's that reduces the labour, of course, to some extent, but it also creates the climate, the microclimate that you like and that the plants are looking for.
Yes. It's an important thing as well, isn't it? As that foliage starts to rot down, it becomes a wonderful source of organic leaf mould and leaf humus and fresh humus, which feed the soil, which feed the microbes, and everything is connected, and you get a really healthy soil.
Well,
So
this property is self-composting.
that's right. People need to look a little bit closer at using deciduous plants in their gardens, and if they want to know how to use them really successfully, I think this is a place that people should visit to really get some fantastic ideas. John, thank you so much for joining us today on Blooming in Brisbane. It's been a treat to look around your garden. We're going to be taking a closer look at some beautiful species of plants that you have here. And you're open as well, aren't you, for weddings, and you have a nursery?
Yeah, so our nursery and the gardens are open every week of the year. We're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 9 till 4, yes, and Sunday mornings.
Yes.
So people can come anytime and see the garden at all its stages across the season.
And I can just imagine that the weddings must be so picturesque here when all the roses are out and everything is blooming and the fragrance is permeating the air. It sounds romantic, but I think it's very true and a perfect setting for a wedding too. So thank you again for being with us today. It's been a real pleasure for opening your garden, and so we can enjoy it and help share it with the rest of our viewers today. You know, walking through a garden like this, it really highlights the beauty that we can create from not just perennials and bulbs and flowers, but also from the deciduous nature of many, many trees. Now, admittedly, some of these are aces and may not do very well within the Brisbane region, but we can substitute them. We can use warmer climate plants such as Largostromias or the dwarf crepe myrtles as well. There are lots of things that we can use, and there are ornamental pears we can use, there are nectarines and flowering peaches, but you know, to capture this sort of feeling and presence in the garden can be a very magical experience and can truly bring about a seasonal change and a seasonal quality in your garden. I think we should be open a little bit more to maybe trying a few deciduous species of plants in our own gardens that we can appreciate, and for everyone else as well, because remember, what you plant in your garden you'll also end up teaching other gardeners for the future.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Blooming in Brisbane. I know I had a blast going on the road trip with Noel and visiting Spurtopia again. Great fun. Now, for more information on Blooming in Brisbane, visit us on our Facebook page, Blooming in Brisbane, or check us out on YouTube. And don't forget to apply Organic Extra at recommended rates on all your plants. They're gonna love it. Now's the time to get into the garden. Happy gardening, and I'll see you next week on Blooming in Brisbane.